Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We're virtual only based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the thought behind the thought, the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. We're solving little bits of Revelation each week. This will be Revelations chapter 6, a little bit of chapter 9, a little bit of 13, and a bunch of 14 about the Great Commission and the Great Harvest and things like that. So stick with it. It should be good. It'll be four things, okay? We'll be lamenting Charlie's death, Charlie Kirk, talking about the evil uprising, prophecy on evil, which you'll see some of those things and civil unrest. And then we'll talk about that Great Commission, the Great Harvest that's coming up, and what we're supposed to be doing. So, no burning cities and looting. The murder of Charlie Kirk is exposing players in the war of good versus evil. Make a stand. There's no longer a sideline to sit on. What we're doing is we're praying and we're singing. Okay? The other side is doing some horrific things. And so this is from Peter R. Mack. Charlie Kirk, the level of evil being exposed is staggering, rejoicing over the murder of a father of two who extolled the virtues of humanity peacefully is a display of barbarism and vicious inhumanity. This is good versus evil. This is how those watching Nazis slaughter people reacted. Those watching Nazis slaughter, those people reacted. Pick a side, choose wisely. Thank you, Peter Isaac or Peter Mack or whatever he is. Good point. What are we doing? We're trying to, we're trying to digest Charlie Kirk's death and where we go from here going forward. And what's the point? We're trying to look at the Bible. We're looking at prophecy. We're looking at the news. We're looking at the philosophy of the end of days as we process Charlie's death and the steps going forward. So, to quote Charlie, assassination culture is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same thing about Donald Trump. In California, activists are naming ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. The left is being whipped into a violent frenzy. Any setback, whether losing an election or losing a court case, justifies a maximally violent response. And they did. Okay, so are we outraged at what happened to Charlie? Maybe we should be more so. But we tend to go to our faith at that point in time. We tend to go to prayer and singing and fellowship. And that's the right way to handle this. We need to go deep into God's Spirit rather than be angry and violent. We can't be violent. We just can't. It's not how we're supposed to handle the end of days. Okay, so this is from Morgan Murphy. Charlie's murder brought out thousands of unhinged liberals who took to social media with sickening glee. With horror, Americans saw ourselves how many teachers, professors, nurses, administrators, veterinarians, and angry middle-aged white woman rejoiced in Kirk's murder. The left's abhorrent reaction cemented many Americans' view that liberals have been infected by a destructive death cult. Yes, that is where we're going. That's the problem right now. So Morgan Murphy down below, Charlie Kirk, and the pivotal turning point in our culture. Rest in peace, of course. Miss Charlie, miss him a lot. We're all processing this. On the right-hand side, Peter Haig, all people had to do was be fully against murdering for just espousing political opinions. That was the moral test. Shocking how many seem to have failed it. And Omri down below says, or just against murdering someone. Peter Haig again, most people passed the test. There was a universal horror at the killing of Irina Zarutska. Say her name, Irina Zarutska. I guess it's fortunate she hadn't expressed any controversial opinions prior to boarding that train. See, that's the problem. If you say something that they don't like, then I guess they have the right to off you. So down below from Razor, we're at the point where a tribe's celebrated killing someone for their political speech is not fascism, but a guy losing his TV gig for brazenly lying about it is. And you know who I'm talking about. So what we're going to be noticing going forward is horrific things from the less godly people, okay? And so the first thing that I want to cite from Y Entertainment is witches cursing Kirk. Yeah, Charlie Kirk dies days after the Etsy witches curse him, and people can't believe the coincidence. So this is from Jamie Gomez from September 12th. So just a couple of days before he was shot and killed, at Utah Valley, 2 days after the Jezebel posted a piece revealing that they paid Etsy witches to curse him. Now, you can say, oh, no, these were harmless little curses. No, they weren't. These were nasty, horrible. The piece was written amid a growing trend of people paying witches for craft marketplace Etsy. Spells range from making people fall in love with you, and more than that. I'm making somebody shit their pants. An anonymous author decided it was best to purchase multiple spells, settling on make everyone hate him and powerful hex spell. Both were purchased in August, approximately 2 weeks before Kirk's fatal shooting. It's important to note neither spell advocated for violence or death against Kirk that we know of. So this is from Y Entertainment about the Etsy nurses. Etsy. And that's the other problem. Nurses are involved in this too. They're supposed to be giving people care. Now, I won't cite it yet. There are some verses coming that are going to be difficult for you to swallow, but I'll show you the verses and the contrast. But in this case, this is from Julie Roy's report from June 2nd of 2025. Survey: 27% Christians consult horoscopes, tarot cards, and astrology. Okay. They don't engage in psychic phenomena, but 27% consult astrology, such as horoscopes, possibly the Ouija boards, possibly, like my former wife, her stupid little magic 8-ball, and tarot cards, and 6% fortune tellers and things like that. So how can God work with what we call the church or the assembly if they're actively involved in tarot cards and astrology? Can't. So if you want to be blessed, you have to stop things like that. You have to. Okay. 72% of Christians never consult such phenomena, including 73% who never consult astrology or horoscopes, 91% who never turn to tarot cards, and 94% who never rely on a fortune teller. I don't want to know anything about these things because, unfortunately, in my family, one of my siblings consulted the Ouija board in a Girl Scout get-together, and their Girl Scout leader died. Okay, and it was predicted. I don't want to touch that. So, Witch Fest again, more witches. Tennessee Conservative published this just recently here, September 9th. Witch Fest is a national problem. So basically what we're saying is these are coordinated occult events based on what occurred yesterday and today, which is September 20th, which is the autumn equinox in Liverpool, New York, Pagan Pride Day, Kirkland, Washington, autumn equinox, Mabon Festival, sacred time to balance between light and dark. We know what dark is. God is light. That's the only light. Ferndale, Michigan. Boston Tea Room was holding an autumn equinox witches market. Tarot, Reiki, and astrology. Most alarmingly, the trend of witch paddles. Witches, they go out and paddle in their kayaks. And witches on water. There is this weird thing about baptism, which we call a mikvah, which is that I don't think the demons like that holy water. I don't think they like living water, mayim kaim, we call it. In Michigan, autumn equinox at the River Special, water-based events are not coincidence. There's something weird going on with that. And I'll probably have Dr. Bill Schnobelin on the show at some point in time, and we'll discuss water and witches. Okay, so this is the quote that I wanted to give you 2 slides ago, but I wanted it to be saved for this time. So my friends are saying, no weapon made will prevail against you. Okay, that's Isaiah 54. No doubt about it. You can read the whole quote if you want to. But let's look at the whole quote now. It is I who created the craftsman who blows on the coals and forges weapons suited for their purpose. I also created the destroyer to work havoc. So he created the destroyer. No weapon formed against you will prevail against you. In court, you will refute every accusation. The servants of Adonai will inherit all this. The reward for their righteousness is from me. Okay, so very good, but in the midst of it is no weapon will prevail against you. Made will prevail against you. But the problem is he also created the destroyer to work havoc. And I didn't highlight that in red. You just have to know that that's going on. So on the right-hand side, let's deal with this. Revelation 6:8. The pale horse, the green horse, chloros, and he brings with him 4 plagues, which is a Ramphea, which seems to be incursions, invasions, hunger, which is limo, which would be crop failures, things like that, death, thanatos, which is death. And really 8 times in this particular verse, you'll see death, like death and hell follows with him. And the beast of the earth, that's Therion, which should be microscopic animals, biowarfare, things like that. So Okay, so he gives this particular horseman the power, and the power, I'm sorry, exousia, G 1849, to attack us. And even though I love John Halloran, he's coming on my show this Wednesday evening. He says, well, that's over a fourth of the earth. Well, as I read it here, I don't see a lot of the fourth of the earth going on there. It is in the midsection of the verse, but it's really about death. Okay, the whole verse is about death. So sorry, John. You're a brilliant man, but you're wrong on that one. Okay, Revelation 9:3. It came out of the smoke, locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power. There you go again. Exousia, G 1849. As the scorpions of the earth have power. Next verse 9:10 from Revelation, and they had tails like unto scorpions, and they were stings in their tails, and the power 1849 was to hurt men 5 months. Okay, so they're given the power. And then the next one is the power 1849 in their mouth and in their tails. That's the sixth trumpet. And the tails were like unto serpents, and they had heads, and with them they do hurt. Okay, Revelation 9:19. So there is this time that we're coming into where the weapons formed will prevail against you unless you have the seal of God or the mark of God. The seal is Revelation 7:2. The mark of God is Revelation 9:4. You have to have those, or you're going to get whopped. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt badly. Okay, so now this is what's going on in the world. People are doxing on both sides consistently, and so during COVID, fire the unvaxxed, dox them all. Now fire anyone who questions Charlie Kirk's death, dox them all. Okay, I'm going to argue that if someone mocks Charlie's death, that they deserve the dox. They do. If you can't grant his wife and children peace right now, you're in the wrong. You're just in the wrong. On the right hand side, a little quip. Don't read the word Democrats. Look in there and say liberals. Okay, are the only group on the planet that can gun down an innocent man, celebrate his death, mock his wife, destroy memorials for him, and lie about who killed him, and somehow still make themselves the victims. They aren't the victims. Okay. Charlie Kirk and his family, and others coming up. I mean, if you look at the news every day, you're seeing someone being attacked that's an innocent victim, and no one ever, puts the bad guys in jail. So no, mocks equals dox. If you mock the death of an innocent person, you should be doxed. If someone mocks the death of a godly man, they should be doxed. Narcissists tend to cause the drama and then blame others for their drama. Okay, so violence and anarchy are the stated goals of these people right now. People should not get shot for their opinions. I shouldn't get fired for my opinions. You see the dilemma? Okay, Lenin reputedly referred to these Western intellectual defenders of communism as useful idiots. And this is the sobriquet. Mona Karen refers to them in the title of her book, chronicling their statements and activities as a reference source. It would be absolutely invaluable to scholars for generations to come. For the rest of us, it provides a sharp reminder of just how stubbornly many liberals resisted this country's efforts to contain and ultimately defeat the deadly dreadful terror of threat of international communism. Okay. So we have two things coming at us right now. They're two horns, radical Marxism and radical Islam. And they both produce anarchy, and that's what they want. Demons and narcissists want anarchy. Okay, so on the left-hand side here, Zach Dolberg and Max Horder, why progressives increasingly support violence. And I can't remember, I don't know where I found this, but basically you can just look up those guys. Our report also discovered an online assassination culture found in predominantly left-leaning digital spaces, such as Blue Sky and Reddit. This subculture justifies and glorifies political violence. Some of these networks users, and so anyway, in the middle you'll see AOC, just horrible speech just recently here, September 19th, launches an absolutely disgusting attack on Charlie Kirk as she reveals why she voted against the resolution that was just a kind, sweet resolution, but she couldn't even join on that. So on the right-hand side, let there be no confusion. The nexus between Islamicism and progressives left is where the long march through the institutions meets the open border crisis in both Europe and America, and where the red wave of radical Marxism converges with the black wave of radical Islamism. It represents an incalculable danger to America and the West, as well as to Israel and the Jews. All Americans who heard American protesters supporting Hamas and shouting death to America are now without excuse. They said nothing. Both the great Satan and the little Satan are now on the crosshairs of radical sites. To defend the Jews in Israel now is to defend America, the West, and civilization itself. Very good point. Thank you, Zach and Max. So we also have a problem within churchianity. Okay, this is James T. Roberson III. He is an established and respected SBC Southern Baptist Convention pastor. SBC pastor drags Charlie Kirk during his sermon, suggesting he was carnal, unempathetic, and racist. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. And the SBC is afraid of this man. So he gets to say whatever he wants to say about Charlie Kirk and about godly people. And so this is, once again, James T. Roberson III. Horrible message. So the article in this case, oh goodness, I cited it, I think, on the next one. No. This is Protestia. I'm sorry, there's the link in the middle. It's Protestia. Okay, on the right-hand side, this is from Insight to Insight, and the gentleman's name is J.D. Hall. Why the SBC can't be saved in one simple formula. If you don't give them money, you don't matter. If you do give them money, you don't count. The SBC is no different. It has developed the same immune system. It tolerates false teaching more easily than faithful rebuke. It punishes prophets harder than it disciplines heretics. It survives reform by outlasting the reformers. The concept is simple. Institutions cannot be reformed once they have chosen drift. Their DNA will not allow it. Continuing on, so the same thing, Insight to Insight, from J.D. Hall. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was not just another headline. It was a moment that pulled back the curtain on evangelical cowardice. When James Roberson III, Send Network pastor under NAMB's banner, suggested Kirk got what was coming to him because he fought in a carnal way, it was not merely tasteless. If Don Lemon or Jimmy Kimmel say that, I guess you kind of deal with it. But this is an evangelical person and well respected within the SBC, and they said nothing about this. They just shut their little mouths. Okay, this is not godly. So the last paragraph on the right-hand side. So here we are, staring at the spectacle of James Roberson III slandering a murdered martyr for Yeshua. The SBC and Send refusing to act, Buck writing letters, Nelson watching from a distance, vindicated in his decision to leave. Best case scenario, somebody at Send asks him to retract and issues a statement about his words being taken out of context, and we were forced to ask the obvious question, who looks more prescient now, the man who keeps hoping his rebuke will spark reformation, or the man who already decided the system was unreformable? And the Christian Post was involved in this too. So, this is the Southern Baptist Conference or Convention, okay? This is Bethel Seminary, right down the block from me. And I attended Hamlin. We were Methodist, barely. But Bethel was still godly when I attended. Well, they aren't now. This is Chris Garris. And by the way, I did dox him. I did contact his superiors. And they defended him, which is interesting. So he's a history professor at Bethel. And his comments were, all mortal lives are unfinished. But his... I'm sorry, I can't see it. It's under my time statement. Took from him years and decades in which Kirk could have lamented his ugliest words and most destructive deeds and learned a better way. What a sick. Well, okay, so Chris Garrett's, his hero is Charles Lindbergh, who was one of the greatest Nazis of the last century. So, what a pathetic guy. So I wouldn't employ the guy at a Christian school, at a Baptist school. This is a Baptist school. So they've got issues there. On the lower right-hand side, from Jamie Bambrick, it's terrible what happened to John the Baptist, but his hateful, misogynistic rhetoric towards Herod's wife created the kind of divided society that made it possible. Am I doing leftism right? Thank you, Jamie. Good comment. I'm disgusted by Bethel. This guy's going to stay employed, and I'm disgusted by their leaders. So if I ever get to meet him, I'll call him up. Now we move into the fourth part. So we lamented Charlie. We talked about evil uprising, witches, things like that. We talked. Now we're going to do prophecy on evil, and then we're going to do the Great Commission. So this is normal times will disappear. Normal times will disappear, and there will appear the addict, the prostitute, the homosexual, the thief, the street gang killer. The Bible predicts a day of total terrorism and violence. Immorality of unbelievable dimensions will surround Christians and vex their souls almost to death. Satan will attempt to discredit and destroy the work of the Holy Spirit. Whole nations will follow philosophies of godless rebellion and false religious cults. David Wilkerson. The world is going to maneuver itself into a position of lawlessness and recklessness that can only be brought together by a super dictator who lays claim to supernatural powers. From 1973, the vision. Down below, poor Samantha Ponder, and her husband used to play with the Vikings, Christian Ponder. Ex-ESPN host says messages more disturbing than ever after mourning Charlie Kirk's death. Poor Samantha Ponder, and that's September 17th. Okay, from Fox News. Okay, so this is Dimitri Duduman, and he has a comment on this too, that we're just waiting for these uprisings when people start fighting against the government. He said, remember this, Dimitri, and this came from God. The Russian spies have discovered where the nuclear warehouses are in America. When the Americans will think that it is peace and safety from the middle of the country, some of the people will start fighting against I believe, the Trump's government, but the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the ocean, from Cuba, Nicaragua, Mexico, he told me 2 other countries, but I didn't remember what they were. They will bomb the nuclear warehouses. When they explode, America will burn. So we see the peace and safety. We see in the middle of the country. They will start fighting back. According to my friend Don, well, that's the next slide. Let's cover the dream first. In my dream, it seemed, this is Dimitri Duduman from 1992. In my dream, it seemed I was in front of an apartment building where I live, and I was standing and looking at the overhead clouds. A black bird of gigantic size suddenly appeared. It was coming toward the ground with great speed. As it approached, it spread its wings. When I looked, I saw something was written on the wings that said power. That's probably the Greek word exousia. Dimitri was from Romania. They are a little bit more Greekish in terms of their language. Okay, not completely, obviously. They have their own language, but there are pieces that fit into Greek. Okay, it has been given to me to be able to come against the Christians in a short time. On the beak of the bird was written, I want to make war against the true Christians, those that serve God with their hearts, their lives, and their actions. So, yes, nothing created can fight against you. Guess what? This is not that time. This is the time when they will be able to come against Christians and fight against those that truly believe. We'll see if we are able to stand up against me. We'll see I am a warrior. I fight against Christ. From Duduman again, this bird of indescribable size was never calm. It soared up and down. As I watched, I was able to see just how terrifying and mean it looked. Suddenly, it dropped a ribbon which said, it will not be long before I will declare war against the Christians. I myself will fight with all my strength. Again, it began to soar upwards. Then suddenly a cloud of rain, thunder, and lightning appeared. A lightning bolt hit the bird and fell to the earth. To me, it seemed dead. Feeling great joy that it was dead, I went to study it more closely. As I looked at it, it raised its head and said, do you really think I'm dead? I just played dead because I do not want Christ to be mad at me. In a short time, though, I will be allowed to fight against the Christians in this country. Then it shot up like an arrow and circled over me once. It dropped a letter, which was read in English. I gave the letter to my daughter to read, and it said, I was given power, I believe that's the word exousia again, on earth to fight against those that serve and do the work of God. I have succeeded in destroying some, and others I have taken prisoner. In a short time, I will be allowed to fight against you and others like you from Lucifer, from the Satan. Okay, so Dimitri Duduman called it a revolution coming. Wilkerson called it a civil war, and it's not going to be like the Civil War of the mid-1800s. Okay, the God of peace shall be with you, Philippians 4:9. My friend Don compiled this for me. So keep in mind, that's what's coming. And you see a protest back from June 14th, 2025 for No Kings. Another one's coming on 10/18. So we'll see what happens as a result. They're trying to kick things off. So what's coming? They're going to wage a war against God's holy people. So Daniel 7:20 through 22, waging war against God's holy people and was defeating them. That's on the underlined section in the middle there. On the right-hand side, starting it out, and the beast was allowed to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. Revelation 13:7 through 10. You can pause if you want to and read the whole thing, but basically, that's what's coming against us. That's what we sense. It's building every single day, and Charlie Kirk is part of it. And we are noticing as we see the godless just just reveal their tactics all the time. So I'm arguing that the Son was killed because you can't attack God, but you can attack Yeshua, and in this case, people like Charlie the Martyrs, and make it public and graphic like Yeshua. You are deluded, you can't reason with demons. Treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying its power, have nothing to do with such people. They're the kind that worm their way into homes and gain control over gullible women who are loaded down with sins and are swayed by all kinds of evil. That's 2 Timothy 3:4-6. So the point is, if they're demonic, you can't reason with them. Work with people that are kind of in the middle ground where they're thinking about God, okay? And God's pricking their hearts. On the right-hand side, if you kill the father, well, you can't, but they're going after Trump eventually, and if you can't get Trump, they'll take out the Jews. Okay, so now the shoe is on the other foot. Demons and liberals fight employing the same tactics and for the same goals. It's anarchy. So on the left-hand side, I mean, therefore I am. Leftist retard openly hits at doing it. TikTok code for assassinating President Trump, while commentators praise her as a hero and savior. Some even offer to crowdfund her. She's chasing attention. Fine. So you can pause it and read it if you want to. It's disgusting. Rule number 2. The seas change. Liberals and demons will remember the conservative doxing of 2025 and re-attack in the most vicious ways ever imagined. They're coming back. The shoe will be on the other foot, and their circumstances will change at some point in time, and they will gather power because we see it in the Bible. Deranged liberal woman on the right-hand side from anti-left memes. There will come a day that not so distant future where MAGA Republicans will not be able to live in peace in this country anymore. What's your reaction? That's what they're trying to do. So we have the right to be righteously outraged, but all we can really do is pray, fellowship, and work on the Great Commission. So let's move forward towards the Great Commission. So, a couple of little things in the meantime about the violence. Majority of Democrats refuse to support resolution rejecting political violence. That's AOC again. Friday, September 19th, Zero Hedge. Sure, they support violence. Okay, fine. Exclusive. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons says, criminal illegal immigrant beheaded a man in Dallas. These are the animals we're dealing with. That's Breitbart. Very recent too. The date is September 18th. So this is your future. All violence, all the time. That's the Bible, people, as we head into this time. But you have God protecting you. His seal, his mark, things like that. TPUSA insider Erica Kirk is absolute force, ready to grow group 10 times after the tragedy. So God is moving on the Great Commission, whether we see it or not. The Turning Point Board has unanimously elected Erica Kirk as the new CEO and chair of the board. In prior discussions, Charlie expressed to multiple executives that this is what he wanted in the event of his death. So it's the Great Commission, people. That's what's coming up. You need to work on that and concentrate on the good stuff that's coming up. What did people preach about Charlie Kirk? Well, basically, youth, Israel, God, Torah. I have more slides on it, but basically, Charlie became the youth whisperer in the American right. So this is the Great Commission, and even the Jews are noticing this. So it's really wonderful to see that, and you can't ignore that. So this is rediscovering your soul. So on the left-hand side, Revolver. Tens of thousands walk away after seeing celebrations of Charlie Kirk's assassination, September 12th. So what we're seeing now is the Great Commission. They want to go buy a Bible. They want to pray. They want to go to church. They want to fellowship. And they're seeing how evil the other side is. There's a movement happening that you need to know about. It's a massive trend sweeping TikTok right now, where lifelong Democrats and even self-described liberals, nose rings and all, are announcing they're done with the Democrat Party. What brought all this on? Watching their fellow Dems openly celebrate the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Thank you, Revolver. This is the Great Commission. So, fellow Dems opening, and literally tens of thousands in these videos, people finally open their eyes to see exactly what Charlie worked for in his life, to open hearts and minds. Even hardcore liberals are horrified, with many saying they're proudly praying for Charlie's family. God bless them. What did Charlie Kirk preach? The Great Commission. So God, Yeshua, gifts, Sabbath, Torah, pro-Israel, youth, things like that. That's the Great Commission. I can't stand Candace Owens. Sorry. And so she wasn't allowed to speak, so she didn't go to Charlie's funeral. A lot of pots. Okay, so what did Charlie preach again? Great Commission. Once again, God, God's Spirit, Yeshua, Sabbath, Torah, pro-Israel, youth. Yeshua came and talked with him, and he said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make people from all nations into talmidim, which is disciples, immersing them in the reality of the Father and the Son and the Ruach HaKodesh, his Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And remember, I will be with you always, yes, even until the end of the age, Matthew 28:18-20. So, authority. Yeshua claims all authority and hands it to us. Mission, go and make disciples. Mikvah, which is the baptism, which is things like that. Mikvah, new believers in the name of the Father, Son, and God's Spirit. Teaching, instruct disciples to obey Jesus' commands. Yeshua. Promise, Yeshua assures his continual presence with his followers. That's what's happening. And then what's coming up now? Well, the U.S. stands alone in vetoing UN Security Council Gaza ceasefire resolution. Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz from September 19th. The United States once again isolated itself diplomatically on Thursday on this resolution demanding an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, whether there are Hamas people that are ready to go kill again. They don't care. That's the UN. Get used to it. It's going to be worse with the UN as we go forward. So that's your future, people. That's this week coming up. The UN will try to divide Israel and force Israel into concessions. That's your next week as we move into Rosh Hashanah, I call it, but the real name in the Bible is Yom Teruah, and that is a specific call. We're in the birth pangs. We're not in the tribulation. We're not in the Great Tribulation. We are righteously indignant over Charlie's death, but we need to work on the Great Commission. Sometime in the near future, during these types of holidays that we're celebrating, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, you'll need clean garments. You can't be naked. It's a wedding. Get ready for the wedding. Thank you very much for your time. God bless. And we'll see you in a few days. John Haller's coming Wednesday evening. That'll be fun. God bless.